ultimately, if you're feeling like there's more for you to learn, more for you to do, more skills for you to develop, and you're using AI, ChatGPT to do it for you, you're not actually resolving the underlying feelings of not knowing enough, not being quote unquote good enough. And in fact, you could be very well making it worse. Hello, my friends. Welcome back to Not Another Mindset Show. We are getting into a hot topic today, and that is AI, ChatGPT. Mainly going to focus on ChatGPT just because that is something that I am hearing lots of coaches, business owners in the health and fitness industry using, whether it's for content creation, writing sales pages, therapy for themselves. Or even actually supporting their coaching. And what I will say, and this is really my belief right now, is there are so many people that are afraid of AI, or it's something new and they would rather just like do it themselves, or they try using ChatGPT for something, they don't like the outcome, and they never touch it again. And while we will get into pros and cons of using ChatGPT for your coaching, for your sales copy, this is the future. The future is now, my friends. And while I am a firm believer, granted, I may be a little bit biased here, that coaches who are supporting their clients beyond just giving them macro targets and writing them a training program, y'all are safe. You're safe from AI taking your job, because so much of what we do, if you are that type of coach and not just writing workout plans and sending over macro targets, is uniquely human. And people want to interact with humans, probably more so now than ever. However, if you don't subscribe to the type of coaching that I'm constantly talking about in this podcast, which I can't imagine you'd even be listening to this if you didn't, and you're not interested in understanding human motivations and decision making and self-control and habit formation and growth versus fixed mindset and developing a relationship with your clients and effective communication strategies and how to ask the right specific questions to help your clients arrive at solutions, all of those things, sure, maybe AI can do to some degree, but even if you tried to feed ChatGPT a client check-in and say, can you tell me about self-control, motivation, habit formation, all of this stuff that I just mentioned, and how I need to approach that with this client, it's just not going to work, because ChatGPT doesn't know the history of that client, doesn't know who and how that person will be, who they are, and how you need to interact with them. There's a lot of very uniquely human things that go into an effective coaching relationship. So what I will say is that AI itself won't replace you. At least right now it won't. But the coaches and business owners who are using AI to their advantage, they might. So I don't want you to be fearful of AI using ChatGPT to support you, make things more efficient. But also we want to use it in a smart manner, and not so that we are outsourcing ourselves, and also so that we are not constantly using it, because there are impacts of that beyond what most people are even considering. So that's what we were going to chat about today, chat about ChatGPT today. So how can ChatGPT help you? I think the most common usage I'm seeing right now is absolutely content creation, to the point where now we're seeing people call out other content creators because it's very clear that they're using ChatGPT to develop their captions and to write their sales pages and things like that. So I see it as being helpful as a brainstorm and creative partner. And I mean, I can tell you, full transparency, I do not use ChatGPT to write any of my Instagram captions, to write my sales pages, to write my marketing emails, but I will use it for all of those things, if that makes sense. So what I might do is say, hey, here's a sales email that I wrote. Here's how I want to adjust it for this different type of offer. Here's the point that I'm trying to get across. This is the message that I want underlying it. Here's the tone I want to use. This is how I want people to feel when they're reading this email. It will take my previously created work, use everything I just inputted it, and then give me another version, a draft of that. And then still, I am going back in and making hella adjustments to it. So it's nice because it saves me some time and kind of in some cases gives me an outline. And I'm still going in and giving it my personal flair, if you will. And I'm using what I know about my ideal client avatar and how I want to speak to people and what I know about human behavior and motivations and things like that. So I think it's so helpful to be your brainstorm buddy and to help you cultivate some ideas. Like I will say, even for the podcast, I will send it all of the topics I've talked about so far on the podcast and say, here's who I'm speaking to. This is my motivation and drive behind the podcast. Here's some like topics that I want to touch on. Can you give me some more ideas? And I will say, most of the time I go through those ideas and I go, I don't want to do any of these, but you did give me an idea for something else I want to do. So I think it can be really helpful in that case from an efficiency perspective and a creative perspective. Things like blog posts, writing captions for social media, website copy, sales, emails. Yeah, I like it for all of that. But don't outsource you. Don't outsource yourself to ChatGPT. So how can you give it some direction and then allow it to give you a jumping off point for your creativity rather than outsourcing your creativity? And like I said, people can see it. People know when you are copying and pasting that caption from ChatGPT and throwing it up on Instagram. So I also really like it too. I think more so from like don't necessarily write my email for me, write the caption for me, but help me flesh out the message that I'm trying to get across, or help me get really, really specific on who this caption is going to be for. How could I better speak to that person? Can be really helpful to like just even flesh out who your ideal client is, what your niche is. Some of those like sort of beginning business type of opportunities. Or how can I make this specific message more powerful? And then maybe what it gives you back, you're kind of like, that still doesn't really feel like me. Again, don't just copy and paste it, even though if it doesn't feel right, but take it and use it as a jumping off point. When I think about health and fitness coaches specifically and, training program design or ideas for different fitness challenges and things like that, I think ChatGPT, again, great creative brainstorm buddy. And being able to say like, hey, here's the training program I have for this specific client. I would like to recreate this for their next training program block. Here's the exercises I don't want to include. Here are some exercises I do want to include. Can you use methodology about periodization, hypertrophy, and make sure that that's included? Please explain to me why you chose what you chose for the program once you've put it together. I think that it kind of seems like you are cheating in a way, but the reality is so often, and for those of you who do use ChatGPT, you know this is true. So often you will do that and you'll get something back and you're like, okay, well, that's still wrong. I would have never put leg extensions in this spot within the full leg day session. That doesn't make any sense. Or why is this rep range so different from the other one? And anyway, you can look at it and and this is because of your personal knowledge, that you can spot the pieces that are still incorrect, need to be adjusted, whatever, but you still just saved a lot of time, right? So fresh ideas for how to set up the training program in a way that makes sense for this client, especially if they maybe have injuries or something that's holding them back, or just like general preferences can be helpful just to like get you going. But then again, don't outsource you, don't outsource your knowledge. Use that stuff. I like the idea too of like inside your coaching programs, if you're wanting to come up with like an internal challenge or something that your clients can do for community building or seasonal or themed internal programs you can do with your clients, or yeah, just idea generation around how to build the culture inside your coaching programs. So again, I think I'm just coming back to the same thing of like this great for idea generation and giving you a jumping off point, but don't lose yourself in ChatGPT. And benefits of using this, obviously I've mentioned this many times already, but time saving, but also like how are you using the time that you're getting back? And that's the point. That's the discussion point I really want to drive home here. If you're saving so much time using ChatGPT, AI, whatever, where is that time that you're saving going to? Are you even aware of that? Is it just going to scrolling on social media? Or are you using that extra time that you're getting back to deepen your relationships with your clients, to start working on that project that you put on the back burner forever? So be mindful of your time, period, end of story. But if we're so hung up on how much time that we're saving from AI, what are you doing with the time that you're saving? And creativity, yes, having a creative brainstorm partner, like we talked about, sparking new ideas. And I think less about just like giving you the ideas and like keeping you from spending some time to really think and think about what your clients need and how to speak to them and how to shift your messages so you're speaking to different types of people. Don't outsource that type of idea generation. And I would hate for any of you listening to this to, instead of turning on that creative part of your brain and having fun with it and leaning into it and spending some time there, that you just type in a ChatGPT prompt instead.
Okay, taking a quick break here to talk to you about something I know you want more of: clients. Getting more client applications, making more sales. This stuff feels a lot harder these days. I mean, I used to be able to post a donut on Instagram and get like 20 client applications. What used to work just doesn't seem to work anymore, but that doesn't mean you're out of luck. The one thing I've seen to continue to work over the years with my students, my business mentorship clients, and of course in my own business too, no matter what social media looks like or how the industry is changing, this one thing will never go out of style and will always work. And that one thing is mindset and psychology. This really is the ultimate sales trick, but it's really not a trick at all. Signing more clients and having them stick around with you longer is so much less about sales and marketing and so much more about just understanding how humans make decisions and get motivated to change. You're used to me sharing all the time on the podcast about education around coaching practices, but this mindset and behavior change coaching stuff should start before the coaching relationship even kicks off. One of my most popular and affordable workshop series has recently been totally revamped and upgraded: The Psychology of Signing More Clients. I am super stoked to share with you some of my favorite science-backed strategies for attracting more clients and feeling good when you do it. No icky sales tactics over here. Make sure you check out the show notes to learn more about the psychology of signing more clients.
So how can we use ChatGPT maybe to help us think outside the box, help us think of ideas we wouldn't have thought of ourselves, or to give it our ideas and say, I want to go somewhere with this. Like, help me, ask me some questions to help me arrive at a different conclusion that I maybe wouldn't be able to arrive at on my own, and use it as a creative device, not a creative outsource. All right, so drawbacks. I mean, we've kind of discussed some of them already, but I think the biggest one, especially in the coaching space, is just like the lack of personal touch that we are providing if we're outsourcing our coaching to ChatGPT. And the empathy that a coach naturally brings and how we're speaking to our clients. Like all of that is going to affect our clients' perceptions and their actions and their behaviors and their beliefs. I just cannot imagine, instead of you going to your client and sharing what's coming up for you based on everything that you know about them in the months that you've been working together, instead you're just throwing their check-in response into ChatGPT and seeing what ChatGPT has to say. Like, consider the risk of losing that genuine human connection. Like we don't want to go there, and none of us want to go there, so don't be the person who brings us there, okay? uh, um so many complex nuances in the coaching relationship that ChatGPT is not going to be able to pick up on. And I mentioned this at the beginning of the podcast episode, but especially when we're talking about client psychology and behavior change and mindset, like it's not going to be able to pick up on that if you feed it a client check-in. And if you are expecting it to be able to pick up on those things and you yourself don't know those things, you won't actually know where ChatGPT is going wrong or is giving you incorrect information. Because remember, ChatGPT is just taking the information from the internet. And that doesn't mean that the information is always 100% correct either. So if we're trusting ChatGPT to give us reliable information, like that's a slippery slope. So, oh yeah, the nuances of human behavior and motivation might be able to be picked up by, but you won't know any different unless you know that stuff yourself. So it's kind of like a don't outsource your knowledge type of situation too. Another thing that you maybe haven't even thought about is just general like privacy and data security. So we need to be cautious and informed about data handling and what we are telling ChatGPT about our clients and who they are, and wanting to continue to safeguard client information and not just putting it somewhere into ChatGPT, which then could end up anywhere. You never know, right? So that's something that like when I was putting this outline together, was like, wow, I wonder if this is even something that people are thinking about. That if the information you're feeding it, is that your information to be sharing, coach? And another big one that is, I don't feel like is talked about enough at all in discussions about AI. And like, I hear people who are just like using ChatGPT for literally every single thing in their day and just all of the time. And just AI in general is energy consumption. Energy consumption. And the significant energy requirements that go into training and operating large language models like ChatGPT is enormous. It truly is. Um, the data centers that house these models consume vast amounts of electricity, which contributes to a substantial carbon footprint. And I don't think, like I said, I don't really see this discussed anywhere. Like, we talk about how you should be recycling to save the planet, but we're not talking about your AI usage and how that might be affecting the planet. I actually grabbed a couple stats here to share with you too. When it comes to carbon emissions, ChatGPT is estimated to emit around 8.4 tons of CO2 annually, which is more than double the emissions of an average individual. And just think about how often we're using ChatGPT. It's just crazy. Or water usage. So Microsoft reportedly used approximately 700,000 liters of fresh water to cool down machinery during GPT-3's training process. So the cool down process is using the training of the ChatGPT-3 model required 700,000 liters of fresh water to cool it down. So the implications of water usage for cooling is comparable to the water required for manufacturing hundreds of vehicles. And again, I'm getting a little worked up here because I'm actually shocked that this isn't talked about more. And I don't think people are thinking about it. So I hope that this leads you to at least think about it. Like, please turn off the lights when you leave a room, but also be mindful of your AI usage and how that could be also impacting the planet. It's just, I think because it is still so new and people are excited about it and all the different things that it can do. And like, yes, it is exciting, but there are always implications. Okay, so then obviously I have to kind of talk about mindset considerations for using ChatGPT as a coach, as a content creator, as a business owner. If you already struggle with imposter syndrome or limiting beliefs around your capabilities as a coach, as a business owner, leaning heavily into ChatGPT can make this worse. Because instead of learning, developing, improving your skills and your knowledge, which then can combat feelings of imposter syndrome and make you feel more capable and confident in what you're doing. Instead of doing that, you might be just going to ChatGPT to answer your questions and tell you what to do and give you a framework and provide you with the knowledge. So you're outsourcing yourself to AI, believing that the info is what better than what you could come up with and what you could learn yourself. All you're doing is sort of continuing to instill the fixed mindset in yourself that you are not capable of doing this, but ChatGPT is. So ultimately, if you're feeling like there's more for you to learn, more for you to do, more skills for you to develop, and you're using AI, ChatGPT to do it for you, you're not actually resolving the underlying feelings of not knowing enough, not being quote unquote good enough. And in fact, you could be very well making it worse. We talked a lot already about feeding ChatGPT a client check-in response, and it won't pick up the nuances of mindset and the psychology of your clients, especially when you have more information about that person after interacting with them over time. Like, humans are really awesome and our brains are really cool. I don't like the idea of us saying my brain isn't good enough, but ChatGPT can give me something better. And if you go through HMCC, the Health Mindset Coaching Certification, yes, this is my program. So it's a shameless plug, very shameless because it's awesome. But if you go through my program and you learn all of the foundational knowledge about habit formation and motivation and self-control and growth versus fixed mindset and all of this stuff that we talk about, and you've learned these things, you've picked up on these skills and you've implemented them in your coaching, and now you are using ChatGPT as a buddy in that process and are able to bounce ideas off of ChatGPT of directions that you want to go from like a behavior change coaching perspective, awesome. Because then what you get back from ChatGPT, you will be able to read and interpret and adjust based on your own knowledge. If you don't have your own knowledge, then you are in tricky territory. And I so fear that so many people will lean on these tools and just accept everything as fact and the best way to do things when that is not going to be the case. Okay. I think honestly, that's all I have to say about this right now. I could go in a lot of different directions of where we're going as a society and the implications of AI in where we're going and how people are leaning on it in a way that will ultimately be ineffective. But I really wanted to keep this episode short and sweet and focused on ChatGPT and from a coaching perspective, content creation perspective, all the things that I know my audience, hello you, are doing, and where this would hopefully be a productive conversation and just give you some things to think about. So I will leave it at that. If we want to chat about AI more, my DMs are open. Let me know. I also would just like love to hear any feedback that you have, or maybe just like how you've been using ChatGPT or things that you've been noticing in the world of like AI and the coaching realm. Maybe we'll have a part 2 based on some responses that you guys shoot over to me, but please don't be shy. Please reach out. It's my favorite thing ever when you guys reach out, like send me a DM on Instagram and tell me your thoughts and perspectives based on an episode that you listened to, because it also then helps me generate more ideas for the podcast too. And I would rather generate those ideas with you than ChatGPT. Okay? Okay, that is all I have for you, and I will see you next time.